How's it going, folks? Recording the second best ball draft of 2024, doing another little board, and looks like we got pick number 10. So I guess I kind of be hoping for AJ Brown. Might take a Bijan or a Gibbs. We'll kind of see how it goes there. If you notice, I have three players in my queue over here: Franklin Worthy and Lad McConkey. For me, these are wide receivers 4, 5, and 6 of the rookies. I'm a little bit lower on Brian Thomas and Coleman and Adai Mitchell. So these are guys I've kind of been targeting. So I really like their ADPs. Uh, I think Ladd is going to get a pretty big jump. Sounds like he's just destroying the Senior Bowl practices, kind of like Tank Dell, if you remember last year, he was just massacring the Senior Bowl practices. Sounds like Ladd has got that going on himself. So I wanted to look at a few yards per route run things from this Football Insights tweet. I'll take a look at them after make our first couple picks. So I just want to kind of point out I really like these three players' ADPs. Guess I could probably just leave them in there for now. It's not like I'm going to time out while I'm recording the video. It seems pretty unlikely. Won't be the easiest decision on if we want to take a elite running back or a wide receiver here. Haven't taken Gibbs yet. Guess I could take Nico. Kind of want to take AJ Brown. I prefer starting with wide receiver to running back, and Hurts has been coming back in round three, quite a bit to the spot where we took AJ Brown. So, kind of like the idea of trying to get Hurts to come back to us in round 3 and building a Philly stack. Obviously, that could fail. That's all right. Kyring, Garrett Wilson, and Jonathan Taylor could all come off the board here, and that kind of sucks. But might go for a reach on Achane, where I might go with Nico or DJ Moore. I'm okay with any of those options. Nico is nice because if we miss round 3 Hurts, we might run into round 5 Stroud, but I'm guessing we just end up with like Nico. Depends if I want to make a reach for Achane. I don't think I do. I'd rather kind of have Achane on like a Tyreek team or something like that. I think we'll just take Nico here. Cool. I prefer Garrett Wilson to Nico, so that works out for me. The one thing I prefer with Nico to Garrett Wilson, obviously, is Nico has a quarterback that I'm actually excited to draft, and I'm not looking to draft Aaron Rodgers at all. So let's go look at this Football Insights tweet. So this is looking at the 5 wide receivers for 2024 that are projected to go round 1. There's definitely other guys that could go in round 1. I think there's up to 8 wide receivers that realistically have shots at going in round 1. Now, like, obviously all 8 probably wouldn't go in round 1, but like, somebody from this list, Coleman or Franklin, might get bumped out. I think Franklin's like amazing, so I don't think he should be bumped out, but there's probably up to 8 wide receivers that have a shot of going in round 1. Brian Thomas Jr., Adai Mitchell would be, and Xavier Worthy would probably be the other three to go with these five. So if you look at the yards per route run, this is over their college career. You notice like Keon Coleman's is real bad. It concerns me quite a bit. Like obviously, like this one stat isn't the be all end all. Like Zay Flowers is a bit low. Jalen Rager's is terrible, which obviously is a little bit of a flag. Dotson's is not all that great, but I mean, they're still significantly better than Keon Coleman's. And Brian Thomas Jr. is at like a 1.9 for his career, and Adai Mitchell's at like a 1.7 something. So let me get you the actual numbers on that. I have it on my phone. I believe I do, yes. So Brian Thomas Jr. is 1.90. Keon Coleman is 1.85, and Adai Mitchell is 1.75 for their college careers. So pretty much concerns me with all three of those guys. Now, Brian Thomas Jr. did bounce back last year quite a bit. He had a 2.6 yards per route run, so maybe I'm not as worried about him. But like last year, Coleman and Mitchell both had a 1.7 yards per route run. So I'm pretty concerned about those players. They're not guys that I'm really that into picking at their ADP. So Saquon, Etienne, Rashad White, James Cook, these are all running backs that I'm just not very interested in. Pacheco. Diggs did go. Marvin Harrison went here. Gonna take DK Metcalf or Jalen Hurts. Be pretty happy with either one. Slightly prefer Hurts, but I'm not going to cry if I end up having to take DK Metcalf 7 picks after ADP either. Now, we'll see if Devonta Smith makes it back to us. Probably pretty unlikely, but, no big deal. We could pick up Goddard later if we want, or whatever. It's not too many Eagles I'm actually into drafting. Eagles are like reasonably. They could draft a wide receiver at some point in this draft, that's for sure. I'll probably take Malik Neighbors or Waddle if Devonta Smith goes. Let's get these rookies out of here for the time being. So I actually want to use my queue for something useful. Cool. I don't really mind T. Higgins or Keenan Allen. I just took Keenan Allen, so I wouldn't hate passing on him. I'm going to take Smith or Waddle. I haven't taken Waddle yet at all, so. I think Cooper Kupp is pretty reasonable as well. Keenan Allen's fine. I'm just going to take Devonta Smith and go for the expensive Philly stack. Again, we're just like not super looking to be drafting running backs past the Big Six and A-Chain. So Ben Johnson ended up staying with the Lions. That's pretty bummer for Washington. I've noticed in these drafts too that the rookie running backs, like what you're seeing in ADP, generally is not where they're going. So keep that in mind if you do some of these drafts, because if you want some of those rookie running backs, you're probably going to have to pick them like a round above what it says they're at. In some cases, more than that, just because people are finally like starting to like pick up steam on looking into the rookies, and a lot of those guys people are starting to get excited about, so they've taken them earlier. Philly is currently a team that doesn't have a real running back on their team, I don't think. Swift's a free agent, Penny's a free agent, Gainwell's kind of just a guy. I'm not getting sucked back into picking Gainwell thinking he can be the starting running back. Kind of feel like he's shown that even if he is, he's not even that great. So I don't really have too much interest in Gainwell. I got a little excited for him last year when they were kind of talking about him being the starter. Then watching the games play out, I kind of felt a bit silly. Like, of course, this guy wasn't going to be all that, you know? So we got our Philly stack. We got Garrett Wilson. Definitely liking the start to this one. Tight end, I'm really into. There's like just a lot of good tight ends this year. So I really like Andrews, Kittle, Engram, McBride, Bowers. I'm not as into Kincaid. I'm not as into Njoku or Ferguson as those guys. Kyle Pitts, I surprisingly haven't taken at all yet. Could end up with Goddard on this team, but not really looking to since I got both the other two targets. So if I had only gotten one of these guys, I'd be a little bit more interested. Wide receiver, I'm pretty interested in McLaurin, Adunes, Jordan Addison. I don't think there's any chance London makes it to us, so we can kind of write him off. George Pickens, I'm not that excited for. No interest in Eckler or Henry. Don't mind Ramondre. I would take him above both Eckler and Henry. But again, not really looking to be taking running backs in this area of the draft. So do we take McLaurin or Dunze or Addison? Taking one of those three players. Guess the McLaurin. I've not taken any Adunze yet. Yeah, I think Addison's just too good of a pick here. Just gonna take him. I'd be like really happy if Adunze ended up being Jordan Addison. So why not just take Jordan Addison, right? I don't mind Rome, but I just have not managed to get to him. I did prefer both McLaurin and Addison to him. That last decision point. I would love for him to make it back to us, but I don't really have very much hope for that happening. I don't mind Kittle, but I like some of the tight ends that are later quite a bit, so probably won't take Kittle. It's annoying to see how Dunes go. Gonna take one of these Jags wide receivers, I think. I really like Calvin Ridley. I feel like his first year back, that sucks. I've not taken any Christian Kirk yet, so sure. I like Calvin Ridley a lot this year. Love his price. Stevenson was like a mild consideration for me there, but I've taken him a few times, so at least twice. So around 7, 8 is about where I'm pretty excited to start grabbing tight ends. It's where Bowers and McBride kind of hang out. I love them both as picks. running back is probably going to be pretty ugly for us, which it normally is, because I'm pretty happy to be drafting 0 RB a ton at this time of year. One of the more difficult things I find about this particular year 0 RB is like there's very few set handcuffs right now where like I feel like okay, this guy is like definitely stuck behind a starter, but if that starter gets hurt, he's going to be really good and he's actually cheap. So like the only ones that I'm really finding that is the case for are Israel Abinaconda, who I think is going to end up, being the two behind Brees. I don't think the Jets invest more in running back. And Chris Rodriguez from Washington, I think, is going to be the backup to Brian Robinson. There's a few running backs I'm interested in here. Trey McBride goes a bit earlier than usual. Kincaid goes. I still like Ingram and Bowers quite a bit. There's a chance we could get shut out on those guys, so we'll see what happens. If certain running backs go off the board before my pick, I might just take one of those tight ends. Ingram, Bowers, and Pitts are all interesting to me. So there's a fuck. I cannot get Tyjae Spears. It's just so difficult. It was super annoying. I haven't taken any James Conner or Brian Robinson yet, so I guess I'm kind of looking at those guys. How many points did James Conner have last year? So I'm kind of between James Conner, Brian Robinson. I haven't taken either of them yet. I do think Arizona can take a step forward next year. So I guess I like both those guys' offenses to take a step forward. Najee's like a fine enough pick there too. So probably going to take either Mostert, Robinson, or a tight end. Seeing as there's like 3 of my top 8 tight ends left still, might be a little bit more apt to want to take them. Here was Bowers. Pretty good on Evan Ingram or Kyle Pitts. All right, well, I haven't taken Kyle Pitts yet, so I guess we'll do that. I think there was a reasonable argument for taking a running back there and seeing if Goddard came back, but I already have a couple Mostert shares. I do like Brian Robinson, but he doesn't like super excite me. And I have not taken any Kyle Pitts. I have Pitts ranked after Bowers and Ingram, so like I've just mostly been ending up with those two and not really Pitts. So yeah, going back and looking at this, like this definitely concerns with Keon Coleman. Brian Thomas Jr., I would say I'm the least worried of the 3 between Brian Thomas Jr., Coleman, and Adai Mitchell, but don't particularly like any of them. a lot of people seem like really concerned with like how expensive Marvin Harrison's getting. Like, doesn't really bother me too much. I'm willing to pay quite a bit for him. Right now, for now, I'm discounting TJ Hawkinson like more than he's being discounted in general. Like, I personally think he should be lower. Just because, like, it's pretty unknown when he could be possibly be back from his injury. Could consider Goddard. Go with the triple for Hurts. It's kind of whatever to me. Running back is looking pretty terrible. But we'll start getting into running backs that I have more interest in the next time the board swings around. It's probably be like a 7 or 8 running back team. I like Dotson. I like JMO. Take Goddard and be done at tight end. Probably get one of Dotson or JMO anyway. So it's probably going to be like something like a 2882 build. A lot of teams advance in this little board. It's like 3 or 4 out of the starting pod advance. So you really don't have to be as careful with your onesie positions as you do in like Best Ball Mania or some of the puppies where you don't advance as many teams. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go down and grab Troy Franklin. It's my wide receiver 4. I like him a lot more than like Adonai Mitchell. There's plenty of decent vet options on the board at this point, but I want to swing for a little bit more upside with Franklin there. The board swings back around to us. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of running backs that we are interested in taking. Pretty much only been building, hero or zero RB teams. I have not drafted any other sort of team right now. There's so much uncertainty with the running back position in general that it seems like a pretty good way to go to try to win this tournament. I'll probably be a little bit more into like the hyper fragiles and that type of thing when we actually have running back depth charts sussed out a bit more. Like in this one, I'm just kind of shooting a whole bunch of shots at running back and hoping to get lucky that you kind of hit the nuts. There's the most uncertainty now. You also have 2 extra picks in these because they're 20 rounds instead of 18. So that strategy makes a lot of sense to me. Definitely not going to take any more tight ends after Pitts and Goddard, so we'll just kind of. I mean, we could take a third one actually if we want to. Probably going to end up like a luxury pick or two in this draft. So I'm only going to take 2 quarterbacks since I'm taking Steph Hurts. Jaden Daniels is like absolutely flying up these boards. He's certainly one we could consider. I like Drake May. I'm fine with Daniel Jones. Drake May and Daniel Jones happen to play in the same division as the Eagles, so chances could be like game stack options. Since we have Hurts, we probably don't need to like push too hard for one of Daniels or Drake May. Our next pick is 154. That would mean we probably would definitely not get Daniels, but we could get May. And we'd almost for sure get Daniel Jones if we missed out on both of them. Here I'm looking at Brooks, Charbonnet, Zamir, Jerome Ford, all like pretty reasonable options. I like Trey Benson quite a bit. I think I'm just going to take Benson and then kind of see what happens with one of these other guys maybe falling back to me. Between Charbonnet, White, and Jerome Ford, because I don't really have too strong feelings about one of those versus the other. The next rookie I would probably go to for me is Braylon Allen. I would like to see if we could get him the next round. With the way rookie running backs are kind of shooting up the board, I don't think that we will get him the next round. So if Charbonnet and Ford both go before our pick, then we might go down to Braylon Allen and just pull him up. I'm going to wait on quarterback around and see if I can get one of Daniels or May, and if not, then just bite the bullet on Daniel Jones. Maybe I miss all 3. That would be unfortunate. Kirk Cousins is on the board, and we have Jordan Addison, but we don't even know if Kirk Cousins is going to be on the Vikings. So I'd like to get Jerome Ford here. I've not been able to get him yet. He's kind of went before my pick every time that I was considering it. I definitely think Jerome Ford will be involved, even if Nick Chubb is back with Cleveland for sure. So that kind of worked out for us because I really wanted Benson and then one of either Ford. I wanted one of these vets and then Benson. So I thought that my best chance of getting that was to take Benson. Because like I said, these rookies, like they're not lasting as long as they have been. So 154, 159. I want to start putting some players in my queue that I actually want. Okay. Kind of hoping to pick between these groups when it comes back to us. So the person I'm least interested in at the moment is probably Xavier Worthy, just because I've been able to get quite a bit of him. ADP right now is like super fluctuating, so like you can't really know who you're going to get based on what the ADPs say. Like I was pretty sure we would not get Jaden Daniels. I don't really understand why Jaden Daniels is so much more expensive than Drake May. We could go like light at QB and just take 2 running backs with our next 2 picks. And maybe try and push it to like Bo Nix and pray to God that Bo Nix gets a starting job. If not, we're sort of like rocking a solo Hurts team, but I wouldn't really hate that. Like I would probably want to be getting something like Braylon Allen and Kendre. I would probably want to get 2 of these running backs if I was sacrificing at quarterback. 2 of these running backs could really make a 0 RB team pop. Gonna take Braylon Allen with our first pick. Both the teams behind us have 2 quarterbacks, so I think if I can get Kendre Miller, I'd be a little bit more okay passing on quarterback. Algier excites me a little bit less than Kendre Miller, but I do like Algier as well. All right, let's take Kendre. I do like Algier too, but starting to like how this running back room is shaping out quite a bit. I was not super optimistic early on, but it's looking pretty all right. I do think James Conner is getting company in Arizona. So, like, most of the running backs this year that are considered like the better running backs in this class are projected to go in round 3, and Arizona has 3 round 3 picks. So it's kind of hard for me to see how Arizona would not end up with a running back in round 3. But I mean, it's certainly possible that they may not. Don't know if I've taken Corley yet. Ooh, like Estime. Fine with Antonio Gibson as well. Yeah, Drake May goes. Might end up having to get a little nasty at QB. Go with like a Will Levis or a Bo Nix. Does Bo Nix even exist on this thing? Don't hate Will Levis either. I would say there's only one team ahead of us that only has 1 QB, but that doesn't seem to matter in these drafts at all. People just randomly take however many QBs. Really like that Michael Mayer pick. Tucker Kraft does not super entice me to want to do much. Tucker Kraft and Musgrave are pretty tough. I feel pretty fortunate to get Daniel Jones back here, so let's go ahead and do that. We don't get Hyatt to go with him, but that's fine. Do we want to take Estime and kind of be done with rookie running backs? I don't really like to take more than 3 rookie running backs because you're kind of asking for too much to happen, too much to go right for you after that. Could take Gibson and take another rookie running back later, but I don't know. I like the upside of Estime. So I think I'd rather take Estime and then hope to end up with like some of the Chris Rodriguez and Abanaconda type guys later. Malachi Corley goes, don't need Bo Nix now. Don't need quarterbacks. Gonna just stop with Jalen Hurts and Daniel Jones. Doubt Slayton's even back with the Giants. Definitely a bunch of rookie wide receivers that are reasonable picks as well. We could use to fill that room out. Could go back to picking one more tight end, but probably won't with these that we're strong enough to stop at two tight ends, obviously, but this room wouldn't hate a third, and especially with how good our running backs have turned out, like as far as upside goes, I certainly wouldn't mind just stopping at 7 running backs. And probably rather just go for the upside of like some rookies as far as this last wide receiver spot or last 2 wide receiver spots. You could convince me to take Bateman one more time. Man, it is like shocking how bad Rashad Bateman has been. Shocked and terrified at how bad Rashad Bateman has been. So far, I'm liking how this team turned out quite a bit. I think that the AJ Brown pick kind of paid off. I just really like being in the 0 and hero RB builds this time of year, especially this year because running back is just so unsettled. There's like all kinds of teams that don't have like a starting running back, like Houston, Philly, and Dallas. Like all these teams just have their running back rooms wide open. Given that there's a whole bunch of tight ends that I wouldn't mind taking, just going to go ahead and take Trey Palmer there. Probably take one of these 3 tight ends on the way back. I do not mind adding to Pitts and Goddard. I would like Noah Fant the most because I haven't taken him at all yet, and I've taken both Sanders and Dulcich multiple times, but just got to take what they give you. These drafts are super slow. Probably do one more of these again tomorrow. So I'm off again tomorrow. Trying to get my 20 little boards in pretty quickly because it seems like it's filling super fast. Noah Fant caught no touchdowns last year. That's kind of hilarious. Please God, if Noah Fant's agent is out there, do not let that man back. Go back to Seattle. All right, so we're definitely done now at tight end. Ray Davis is a rookie I like quite a bit. Jalen Wright, Biconda. Really not much of a Johnny Wilson fan, but I did take one of him earlier just because. Don't mind Burton. Don't mind A.T. Perry either. There's a lot of guys, like Slayton and Osborne and these players that are a lot safer than some of these rookies. But if you remember last year, there was a lot of guys like Rashee Rice that weren't getting drafted, Mingo, Jaden Reed. So I'm trying to more like catch some of those type of guys that end up going in round 2 or 3 of the NFL draft and end up with opportunity and have higher upsides than looking at some of the veterans. Especially with how I draft my teams, where I am going a lot of zero running back. Like I have a lot of firepower up top at wide receiver, so I kind of need guys with bigger upside to kind of sneak in there. I might take a Benaconda over Rodriguez this time because I have Garrett Wilson. So I'm already making like sort of a bet on the Jets. Our last pick, we could kind of go either way. We don't particularly need an 8th wide receiver. Wouldn't hurt. I really like the upside of this running back room, so I don't think we overly need another running back either. Tight end and quarterback we're for sure done at, so. I've not taken Malik Washington yet, so I wouldn't mind like mixing him in. Gonna take one of Benaconda or Chris Rodriguez. I'm leaning towards Benaconda just because I have Garrett Wilson. I haven't taken Malik Washington yet, so kind of leaning towards doing that. It's a pretty fun team being able to get the Eagles super stack there. Oof. This poor guy in the one hole, I think, is. Oh my God, he went wild on running backs. His wide receivers are terrible. This guy started Kyron JT. Let's see how things worked out for him. We got Laporta and Neighbors. That's pretty nice. Pickens and Dunze. Bowers. Seems like he's probably not going to have enough at wide receiver either. But I think he could have got there with making these 2 picks. He just got like a little bit too crazed on the non-wide receiver picks. Could take Darius Slayton. If he was like for sure going to be a giant, I would do that. But yeah, I haven't taken Malik Washington yet. He's a guy I want to get like a little exposure to, so let's do that. All right, so that's going to do it for this team. We ended up with Hurts and Daniel Jones, obviously fine. A pretty interesting looking running back room. We've got Connor, Trey Benson, Ford, Braylon Allen, Kendre, Estime, and Benaconda. That's of course going to be the weakest part of our team as we did 0 RB, but I think that there's quite a bit of upside in this group, so that's fine with me. And we got AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, Devonta Smith, Jordan Addison, Christian Kirk, Troy Franklin, Trey Palmer, and Malik Washington. Pretty excited about these wide receivers. Got the Philly super stack, and definitely enough firepower here at tight end, though I will admit, this feels like you're kind of paying a lot with these two to not feel that great about it. So kind of is what it is. But altogether, pretty happy with this draft. Thanks for watching, and good luck in your drafts, folks.